must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. If it's Monday or Wednesday night, then it must be California Haunts Radio Night. Please take this time to gather some popcorn, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe even dinner or whatever snacks you eat, and have a sit down in front of the TV, the computer, or even your cell phone and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome! Welcome our first Tuesday show. And boy, am I excited. We have a great guest tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a nice 93 degrees here in Sacramento. Air conditioner's on. You can hear it in the back a little bit. But my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. And I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento. We have people up and down the state of California, Oregon, Washington, and a couple of people in Hawaii that do work for us. But without further ado, really, I want to get into this guest tonight. I heard him speak on another show, and everybody who knows me knows that I am really into Sasquatch, into Bigfoot, and I have been since I was a kid. And, I've had various guests on here talking about Sasquatch. I even had, on the old show over on Blog Talk, I had Rod Moorhead on with these Sierra Sounds. But I heard this gentleman, Mike Paterson, I heard him on another show a few months ago. And what he has done for Sasquatch investigation is incredible. The evidence that he's been able to get, the relationship that he has made with these animals. And if this stuff proves out, and I believe it, okay? That's just me. But I remember listening to Ron Moorhead Sierra Sounds and thinking, well, it sounds kind of Asian, this. What Mike has audio-wise is incredible. And you guys are going to hear it tonight. It's just really incredible. He also sent me some photos that we're going to be looking at of evidence. And I think you need to hear his story. I could sit here and him all I want about this gentleman, but if it doesn't come straight from him, I don't think you quite grasp the story of how he's able to get this terrific evidence. So you know what? Let's just bring him on and get going here, okay? Hello.
Hey, Charlotte. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good. All good.
I'm so excited to have you on.
I appreciate you. Nice to be here.
Tell us about you. I know you've got an interesting background in how you got involved doing this stuff.
I just was spending time in the woods by myself with a camera when all this started to happen. Right? It's just something that fell into my lap, and I searched for answers. And one day they happened. They actually came pretty quick. It started very quick. But I spent about 4 years freaking different areas, running into a situation that quite a few people have been made well aware of. It's quite extraordinary, some of the stuff that's gone on. And I just want to make one little thing on the intro there. You mentioned animals. They have language, they speak, and they even speak English, so they are people. And from my understanding, they are the first people still alive in our forest today. And I know I can understand why and how. Right? So,
didn't you have an encounter with one when you were young, and that's what started everything off?
Well, that didn't start everything off, but yeah, I think I was 10 years old at the time. My family was up north at a chalet for a weekend, and my dad had dropped me off down the road to go fishing. You could do that back then without getting in crap by the law. Or, and I started walking back. Dusk started setting in, so I started walking back. And at the time, I said it was a bear. So, like, I look back now after, once this all started happening back in 2008, that's when it all came back to me. And it's like, hey, that was a Sasquatch. It was inside of me. It was a traumatizing moment in my life, and I buried it basically until I got back into this or started in this back in 2008 when I first had my first close vocal encounters.
I'm just fascinated. I mean, I've done a lot of reading. I lived up in Montague, California, which is a few miles from Happy Camp. We would go up there a lot and see the Bigfoot researchers up there and all that, what was going on up there. But what you have is just incredible. I mean, it's taken years for you to amass all this stuff, right?
When I first started, I approached this like most do. We have no idea what we're truly dealing with, and just got to keep an open mind. And that's what I've done throughout this whole process. Just keep an open mind. I don't, even though at the very beginning, when I had the first close vocal encounter, your sight mind, it really plays denial. There's an aspect of denial that comes with this, because you hear it and I knew what it was when it first happened. I instantly knew. It's a no-brainer. You can tell. And then I spent the next 2 weeks in denial, and it's running through 24/7. Wake up till you go to sleep. It just doesn't go away, and it doesn't. It's never gone away. Like that moment has, that's basically settled down a long time ago. But this subject has now been in my life for the past dozen years, and it's daily, right?
Well, like I said earlier, I had heard the Sierra sounds, Rod Moorhead. This doesn't sound anything like that. And I was thinking today, I just wonder if like you say, that there are people like us, if that's different dialects, like throughout the U.S. For instance, like Rod Moorhead sound more Asian, and Asian in orientation, and yours sound fairly, real close to human. Real close to English. So I'm just wondering, like I said, if it's different dialects. Like, I mean, the Canadian dialect is different from the California dialect or the New York dialect, in the U.S.
Considering that this is a global phenomena, it's and they are people, so they vary. I would expect geographically as well as individually, and at the same time, what Ron documented, it's a matter of what they allow you to hear, to experience. Perhaps they could have yelled out in English to him too, right?
Right.
I can't remember if there was any English with Ron's stuff, but there are people. I've spoken with numerous people that have heard them speak English. It's not their first language, but they definitely have that capability. There's been moments. He's been the predominant male that has vocalized throughout this situation, although there's been vocalizations captured from multiple family members. For instance, Neff, notice he has a lisp. So when he pronounced his S's at certain times, he would have a lisp, and then I'd hear, I have audio of another one, and it actually says, Sasquatch says, yeah, it's just this crazy vocal, right? And I listen to that, and I think, that's not Neff, but it could be mistaken for Neff. So they do vary, and especially with the lung capacity on them. I've recorded vocals from the young as well. And I've heard, we had an incident where we heard them speak in the cottage, where they basically reiterated a phrase that we would say often enough, and it came out of thin air, and I actually captured it on audio at the time. And I said to some people, if you had speak to one of their children on the phone, for instance, you wouldn't know the difference between them and us, because of the lung capacity.
Right.
So, yeah.
How did you, when you first decided that you wanted to make contact, how did you go about doing that?
Like I said, when I started, I was like most people. I was putting up trail cams. I was putting out audio recorders. I've been putting out audio since day one, and it's been something that's worked fantastic for me. I'm using it here at home. Actually, I've had I believe another family has started revealing its presence to me, and audio has been something that they seem to not mind at all. They actually gravitate to the recorder. So I used to I run my audio mics through my sunroof in my vehicle, and there's been countless times where they come up to the vehicle, and Neff's even banging on the car roof, and they come right up to the audio. They know what it is. They know what it does. They know what all the equipment does. And with the camera thing, after a while, I realized the intelligence that I'm dealing with, or something that was much more intelligent than I originally thought, or I didn't really anticipate. Things just flowed naturally, and I changed things as they happened. When they showed me, you try to hide an audio recorder so they can't find it, and then they're hanging out at your audio recorder. Say, okay, I'm going to stop hiding things on them, and I'm going to take the trail cam down, and just more respect towards them, and showing them that, okay, I understand you guys are a hell of a lot smarter than I first figured.
Were you was there any time that you were that you were leery, that maybe one might lash out or anything at you or anything like that? I mean, they're huge.
At first, I had lots of fear. That my biggest fear was actually a big boulder or a tree coming down on top of me on my tent when I was in my tent. That was my biggest fear. I'm not too crazy about running into a bear. That's another fear I have. So I still go into the dark woods, and I'll sleep in my tent belt, and I still have moments. There was one where I was in Neff's area. I have this area where I pitch my tent, not by the cottage, by Dwayne's cottage. I was invited. I was invited to a property to document, investigate for purported activity. So I've been doing that for about 8 years now. But I have another area that I go to, and there was one night I was wearing a toque with a light on. So I just crawled into my tent, and there was a little pathway there to my tent. So I had just laid down, crawled in there, just laid down. In a couple minutes, very heavy footsteps come walking right up the path, right towards me. And at first, my thought is bear. Again, even though they show their presence all the time. So I instantly sat up. I didn't have a tent fly on, just my mesh. So I sat up, I flipped the light on in my hat, and there was nothing there. And it was one of those dead still nights, and the sound just dissipates into thin air. It's gone. So I know it's them, right? There's things that they do where they'll show you that it's their presence.
Do they travel in families a lot?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Do they travel in family groups a lot?
Yeah, I think they're oriented. Yes, what I've been dealing with back here. There's a young one that has been running around, run right up to my tent, and I put a new video out not too long ago with some footsteps called Footsteps Big and Small. I think that's what it's called. And that one night, the young ones around the tent, and then an adult came walking in right up to my audio recorder about 2 o'clock in the morning, tapped the recorder, which they've done quite often. Both Neff's family, there's always similarity in their activity, in their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that they are very family oriented, and they do travel in family groups. I probably more rare that they're alone. I would assume. That's just a guess, though.
And do you think there's a lot more out there than people actually used to think there are? Because it used to be that people thought that it was a maybe a lone one or a couple of them.
Some people used to think there was only one.
Yeah.
And then we get people that would state that maybe there's small groups of them in remote mountainous regions, and none. They are all over the world. They are everywhere. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what their numbers would be, but considering the evidence I've witnessed personally from the children, I would assume that their numbers are quite healthy. It's easier for me to find Sasquatch than a bear, basically.
Interesting. Now you even, and I know I heard you on another show a couple months ago, you even gotten them to write stuff to you. Is that correct?
Yeah. At Dwayne's Cottage, we started off with a little notepad and a crayon, putting that outside. And that's developed over the years to the point now where we're leaving a chalkboard and a sketch pad, and I've accumulated several dozen drawings, and I ask questions and I'm given responses. Not always, but I've gained quite significant responses. They have abilities, and this is a part that people have had a very difficult time with, which is understandable, because this is we've basically been taught doesn't exist. It's folklore. It's impossible. This and that. I've learned no, it's not. It's not folklore. It's not only possible, it's reality. And contact with Sasquatch, ongoing contact, is what really gives one an inside perspective and basically shatters this reality of ours. I do not look at reality the same way as most people anymore, not at all.
Well, I know there's one gal, like Barb Shoop, I think her name is, and she puts stuff out for him all the time. Where she's living.
Yeah.
She's had, I guess, similar contact. And then there's this story, and I know there's a lot of stories out there. There's like the story of the whatever town that is, where the woman had that house, and then they would come. The Sasquatch would come into the house at night, and stuff like that. There's a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, they have the ability to come into our homes, and it's happened to me in multiple locations that I've lived over the years. Excuse me. The second day I moved in here, they showed their presence in the living room here, right in front of my face. It's this interdimensional quality they have, and they're highly telepathic as well. This is the part about their existence. There's even people that are still on the fence whether they exist or not. Science, in reality, is very far past that stage. They know they exist. Now it's just a matter of proving that to mainstream science, I guess, and then the next jump is their abilities. And at one point, John Bindernagel and Dmitry Bayanov, John's well known. Dmitry, I'm not sure how well known he was, but he was the director of science for the Darwin State Museum in Moscow, and he'd been involved in the subject since 1964. And he was well aware that they had abilities. That's why he contacted me. I had sent at one point messages to Igor Burtsev, and he forwarded them off to Dmitry, who ended up contacting me. Dmitry was very supportive, and so was John. John would use some of my stuff in his presentations, but he quit using my name because people are squawking in his ear that I'm a hoaxer, this and that. Right? There's a lot of controversy. Right. Yeah, a lot of controversial stuff surrounding my name. And there's been a bit of drama on that, which I've come to learn, it's basically from harassment of the BFRO, and so there's been a lot of discrediting from their end, and I know for a fact it's them because I've caught the guy. Basically, he's one of their researchers. I have him on camera. I have his voice at my car. I have all the evidence, but these guys have done their best to try and discredit me, right? Anyways, I've had the support of science. Both of them have now, sadly, they passed on because they were a great aspect of this subject. They were, John, 40 years plus in this subject as a wildlife biologist, and so the support has been there from that end, and science is well aware that they have these abilities. So my point being is it's just a matter of time before this all really comes forward, and those who've been sitting on the fence or those who are in denial, at some point it will become mainstream and it will become known because it is truth. That's what it is. So we're basically going through these beginning stages of getting to that truth, and that comes with a lot of denial.
Do you think, like you say, they're because they're interdimensional? Could they be some kind of hybrid?
I've asked them. One of the questions I asked, I said, "Are you human?" And they gave me a Y/N. So yes and no. They are human, but they're something else, which aligns with stuff like Mel Plaquette. And she was ostracized for what she put out too, right? Anybody that puts out anything regarding this subject, actually, Dmitry Bayanov at one point used the term Bigfoot Gate, like Watergate. And I'm fully convinced there's a cover-up by mainstream science. There's somebody pulling the strings, at some level that basically, if you get involved in this subject as a scientist, it's a career killer, basically. Although we got Jeff Mel, he doesn't sit on the fence, right? He puts out his biological stuff, footprints, and he's doing his part to try and have them recognized, but he doesn't take a stance really in the fact that you just take a look at their foot. Actually, I got one right here. That was cast in snow.
Wow.
That's 16 inches. Yeah, it's kind of that's 16 inches. That's Neff's foot, which is 4 inches bigger from when we started documenting his footprint.
Wow.
It was 12 inches, but now 16, and he's a big boy. Wow. But it's human. It looks human. So there's no divergence.
Isn't that true with anybody that does studies and that's cutting edge? That the people are going to be against whatever they're doing because it's not the norm of how they do stuff.
Oh yeah. This is how it works. If you're bringing stuff in, UFOs or ETs or Sasquatch, interdimensional stuff, we've been conditioned to deny, ridicule, mock, laugh, although it has come a long way since I first got involved in this. The subject has basically done a 180. It's amazing how many people are being exposed to this and accepting of it, and how many are actually gaining similar results. They're seeing this in the field, their abilities. Like I know they're invisible because I've been touched so many times, pat in the head, even my face covered, and it's happened both indoors and out. Vocals, we've now documented Neff's voice vocalizing inside the cottage. That was a couple visits, or it was basically the end of the winter when that happened. And yeah, so their abilities, they're humans have an understanding of energy, vibration, how to change that. I think it's an inherent quality they have. I'm aware that their children can materialize and dematerialize. Even the infants, they already know how to do this. So I think it's an inherent quality that they have. There's probably some teaching that has to come along with that, but we become disconnected from who we truly are. And I think they're in the midst of, this is my thought, that, and basically what I've been shown too, that they are in the midst of revealing their existence to humans as they choose. I think they want us to connect with nature, and they see the path we've taken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way we're headed, we're going to annihilate ourselves, and if we keep at the same pace and path that we're going.
Right.
Well, and sorry, I tend to veer off when you ask questions, right?
Oh, no, that's okay. That's fine. No problem. That's no problem. I'm just fascinated with all this because, like I said, as a kid, I was really into it. I was up. We used to visit Mount Rainier and different areas like that, and I was well aware of the Sasquatch sightings in those areas. And so, in fact, I've even been up to Cave Junction, a few times, and Mount Shasta Caverns, that area, and it just intrigues me that these beings can be out there, and yet they're almost, well, like you say, they can materialize when they want, so therefore they can hide themselves, so you don't see them all the time.
They can. I think they're close to us in proximity to for a couple reasons. From what I've learned, there are people in power that want them wiped out. They do not want them existing. And I think being close to us keeps them safe at a certain level. And plus, I think they're teaching their children about us, so they watch us, and teach their children. And I think our future is contact with Sasquatch. It's growing. The numbers are growing.
Absolutely. Well, you sent me some sound, so let's see what's going on with the sound here, guys. What I did was I put it against black screen, so you guys are going to have to use your imagination when you hear them, and then as soon as the sound plays, go ahead and tell us what's going on with that. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Mike.
Wow.
That's actually the best I've heard it on any of the interviews I've done, because they're all kind of, that was really loud in your face. That's good. That was actually the first time Neff tried to say flower, the word flower, and he tried to pronounce it. Then he gives a little chuckle, laughs at himself, because he couldn't control his voice very well. And that was June 28th, 2013.
Wow. Let me play that again for everybody. That's just incredible. And he says your name, too.
Yeah.
Mike.
That's awesome.
I've also learned he was about 17 years old in human years at that point, because I got his age, so he's now 25 years old.
And how long do they live?
I asked them that at one point. I said, how long do your people live in human years? I got no response, so I changed my wording. I think it was the next visit, and I said, do your people live more than 200 years in human years? And they responded yes.
Wow.
So I know that much from what they've stated.
That's interesting when you think about that, because like when you think about these guys that saw them like early on, like Albert Ostman, that came in contact with them.
Yeah.
That could be why they're so more adept with humans, because they've been coming in contact with humans over and over and over and over, and observing all this time. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one, guys.
That was the first time they called my name. And I remember I was in my tent. That I think it was May. It was beginning of May 2013, and I was in my tent, and there's a hill there, and this was down by my vehicle, so I didn't hear it as loud, but I still heard them, and I told Dwayne in the morning because he was crashed out in the he's sleeping in the cottage. I was in my tent,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I think they called my name. He's like, what? I said, yeah, man, I think they said Mike. And then we played it back on the way home, and it was yeah, it's pretty mind blowing.
That is my morning. Let's hear that one again, boy. That's great.
Mike.
Wow. That's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. There's another one, you guys.
There's actually two individuals there, an older male and a young female speaking simultaneously. And,
Mm-hmm.
and when you listen to that over and over, you know, the good file, there's some weird sounds in there. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's bizarre. It's something going on in his throat or something. I don't know.
Wow. Wow. Let's hear that again. I thought maybe like someone was there was a female with you, in the
Yeah.
background there. That's
No, that's two family members speaking at the same time.
wow. That's just incredible.
They know they're being recorded too when this is going on, so they're at the recorder. This was constant. I loved it. Love it.
I can see why. So it's like me getting EVPs, This is grete. Oh, here's another one, guys. Now, this is incredible stuff. Just incredible.
Yeah, that was actually a distant call. There was another call. I think there was a 2-minute difference, and there was another one right at my vehicle. I don't think I sent that to you. It's very, very loud and basically rattles the speaker. It's crazy, but that's one of my favorites.
That's interesting. And I know a lot of people that report, being around them have reported that call, like a similar call, because they'll call to each other from afar.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. All right, here's another one, guys.
Mike. One.
That's actually a good example, that one, of their inhale, exhale vocal ability with a velocity that, I get a lot of people, oh, he's just talking while inhaling. I used to do that as a kid. You listen to that, and I tell people, yeah, okay, let's see you do that. Come on, let's see you do that. Like the power behind that voice on the inhale and then exhaling, it's just, you would end up in a coughing fit, as would anybody. It's just insane.
And how far away is this happening from you when they're doing this?
That's probably that's up near my vehicle, maybe a couple 100 feet or so. There's a hill, and then it levels off, so I'm set back set back over top of the hill and back a bit. So there's some trees and the hill in the way from me hearing it. But I have it set up at my vehicle, right? So
That's incredible. Let's hear that one again. That's something, boy. And there's other voices in there as well.
That's me. That's me yelling back from my tent.
Like, trying to figure that out in the distance. That's wild. The first time you heard your voice, though, I mean, did it startle you? I mean, the first time you heard your name.
Well, the first time I heard their voice startled me. It was, they started vocalizing basically the very first night, but nothing like that. It took 8 months of visits. Weekly visits for 8 months before that, the vocals like that. And yeah, when you start hearing that, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And until I got into my tent. But there's always development going on. And it got to a point where it was in the wintertime. I set up my tent. It was minus 18 Celsius, whatever that is in Fahrenheit, I'm not sure. So I climbed in my tent just to entice him for the vocalizations. The end of the night, I crawl in my tent. He vocalizes, does his thing. I wait. Okay, he's done. So I come out of my tent, come back down to the cottage. I see my vehicle. There's snow on the ground, and I see a fresh footprint right at my car. So I'm like, right on, because I know I got amazing audio from him. And then that was the first time he yelled out from, I don't know, maybe it was 40 feet away from me when I was standing outside. It might have been about 4 something in the morning, and then from that moment on, I didn't have to set up my tent in the winter anymore, because I would just stand outside and wait. Like I said, it's always a development. Whereas now at this point, he's started vocalizing inside the cottage. So it's like a baby step process. They're always giving something new. That's been Dwayne and I's motto, always something new, because there's always something different. Even though everything seems very similar, there's little nuances in there that they give, little differences that happen, just an expose of their abilities and what they're capable of, just teaching, and they are teachers.
The question I have is, if they have the ability to go invisible, like when you're in your cottage, is there any warning that they're going to vocalize, or all of a sudden you just hear this?
No, there's always that element of surprise. It's something that is part of their behavior, and they love it. They love to mess with us.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they catch you off guard 100% of the time.
They like to see your reaction when you jump like 80 feet in the air.
We don't jump anymore. We don't like if the vocals that I caught indoors. We're sitting there at the table having a conversation when we hear Neff's voice come from the room beside us, and we had noise going. So I just react like, tell me you heard that. Come on, you heard that one, right? There's no fear involved at this point. Like, there was a lot of fear at the beginning. That's completely gone now.
So essentially, it's the same group that keeps coming back to visit with you, though, right? It's not, they're not bringing anybody different, or nobody different drifting in.
It is Neff's family, but
okay.
You know, are there other ones that have come to visit? That I don't know. Perhaps I don't know. There may be. You know, the way, I don't know how they travel,
right?
Or if they're having friends over.
Yeah.
Why not? They are people, right? So
right. This is really really cool stuff that you have. I mean, and I understand, your point. It's taking you years to build up this rapport with these with them so that they will communicate with you.
Yeah, I've gone through a lot of bullshit, harassment and ridicule and stalking, and as well as Dwayne, and it's been a real challenge putting this out there, but I know it's real. I know I speak the truth, and so I just want to stand on a mountaintop and yell this to the world, because this shatters our status quo, and I can't stand our status quo. I'll tell you, this is why I do this. I hate the way the world is, the way the world's going, and this changes it. This changes our reality. This is why I do this, because I can see, I see through the lies and manipulation from government and all the BS that's shoved down our throats, and this stuff, it really awakens human consciousness. And so this is why I stand up and I continue down this path, and I'm never up about this until my last breath. All right, this is my path at this point. So
I have another sound here, last vocalization here, and let's see what this is.
Go! Yeah.
That's just a piece from actually a longer piece. There were two individuals there. That's Neff. They started playing, I think it was a younger one, was playing with the foam on top of my microphones coming through my sunroof, which isn't in that part. That is just very crackly, noisy, and they start vocalizing into that, and then Neff ends up yelling this afterwards. But there's also some Asian sounding dialect in there at the same time when you listen closely to that. So
interesting.
It's
very
I asked them about language once. I said, what language do you speak? What language do your people speak? And they said all. I don't know if they meant in a diverse way that, individual like us, maybe we speak 1, 2, 3, 5 languages, whatever, or do all their people know all language. I was given the experience one time where I was given an image telepathically. This was a telepathic instance, and when this happens, there's clarity with it. There's zero doubt, and there were words spoken, but they weren't spoken. They were felt, and it kind of gave me an understanding that, wow, you guys don't need to understand a word. You can actually just feel it and know what it means with clarity, without doubt. So, is it like that with all of them? I don't know. I go from my experiences, and that's all I can really do. So.
Absolutely. I have a question in the chat room, and it's, let me pull this over here. What's your opinion on why, I'm going to raise this up because I'm blind. What's your opinion on why, after all these years, there have never been a body discovered? It's a good question.
It's their interdimensional nature and their intelligence. They don't want to be found. Although if you read Tom Powell's book, Edges of Science, there is a story in there about 2 researchers that supposedly found a grave, a Sasquatch grave, and it was very intricately put together with rocks, and they spent a lot of time pulling this thing apart. I don't remember if it said that they got to any part, down to any bones or anything, but they both got a visit at home that night by an angry Sasquatch, basically saying, "You put that back or else."
Right. I got another question in here. Have you started to learn their language?
That's a very slow process. There's been, the odd word here and there, and trying to decipher things, and it's a slow process. The written communication, that's a slow process. This stuff takes years. It's a really baby step process. But there's been words like Nyeta, who, what I thought was a greeting, now something similar to that, or it's not really. I've not really learned words with a definite, like, this is what this means 100%. it's not gotten to that.
Okay. You sent me some photos, so we can talk about those a little bit before we close out tonight. And I'll go ahead and put the first one up. You tell me what's going on here.
I took that photo. It's an uprooted tree stump, and one of them is standing behind it. I believe is standing behind it, and that was. I'd been walking down the road. I was just taking random photos, and I sat on that for about 6 months, I think it was, before I started looking closer at photos, and then I saw that. And basically, I'm like, wow.
This stuff is all incredible to me. I've always wanted to go out and look around in the woods, but I never had the nerve. I didn't know. Well, you're kind of afraid, because you don't know what to expect when you're out there. You don't know what you're going to find or how they're going to react to you or how you're going to react to them, actually.
A lot of people, I believe, misinterpret their behavior. If a rock gets thrown, trust me, if they want to hit you, you'll get hit. They're not missing. So if a rock lands beside you, they did that on purpose. They're just, if it's a huge rock and it lands right there, I would say that's telling you to leave. But small rocks and that landing beside you, or even just kind of pinging off you lightly, that's just showing their presence. Probably the young ones just having fun. And comes up to your edge of your camp and vocalizes. They have a lung capacity, and they love to mess with us. So it's a matter of understanding that. And they can make you leave an area without you understanding what's going on. Basically, messing, or they can telepathically tell you to leave. I know people that this has happened to. So a lot of people, I think, misinterpret, and their activity can be very scary. Times it seems that way because they are big. You don't know what's happening, right? Because most of the time you might not. It's right there, and you don't see anything.
Absolutely. Here's another photo, and this is interesting too. And I've heard of these things.
Yeah, I was just focused structures. I was with a friend of mine, Leanne. One night she took me to an area, and I just started taking photos of structures and caught this orb above one of them. And orbs are associated with Sasquatch presence, as are UFO.
Interesting. See, that's why I tend to think there might be a hybrid.
This subject is, I believe, basically covered up. The military, whatever, has done its damnedest to keep this stuff suppressed because there is a bigger connection. There are cases where they've been Sasquatch have been witnessed coming and going from UFOs, and we all know that the military has basically suppressed the whole ET UFO phenomena. So this is connected to it. So of course they're going to do whatever they can to discredit or whatever it is, but they can only hold that back for so long. Like you see all this stuff coming out now about UFO. They're just trying to control the flow of information but they can't stop the truth from coming. So
another question in the chat room is, what do they think of humans?
I would think it's on an individual basis. I would think that some of the people do not like us because they see what we do. We're destroying the earth, destruction, the poisoning of everything, our complete lack of respect for Mother Earth, and they're symbiotic with nature, with the earth. They might push a tree over, but who knows what that real reason is. But then there's like Neff's family, and they love us. Their people do love us. We are their little brothers and sisters. They are connected to us.
Absolutely. Here's another photo here. It's so great. You sent me all these photos. It's wonderful.
That's a 17-inch footprint, strategically placed as they always do. Just outside that opening there is basically the path going to Dwayne's cottage, and we come out the path and there was a 17-inch fresh print sitting there, which I cast, as you can see. And
Fascinating.
we've documented literally hundreds from multiple family members, from children, from adults. This past winter, there was a couple visits in a row where 4 family members all came in, left one single, and they have this ability. All the prints have just appeared and suddenly stopped. So they go nowhere. This has been with every one of the footprints.
And that's why, I guess that's why a lot of people will find a single print or two, right? I mean, that answers that question, because that's been going on for years.
Yeah, and they place them, I believe, so that we will find them, so that we will see them. And these structures are put along much of the time right beside pathways where humans walk, right along the side of trails. And I believe they do that purposely to say, hey, we're here, just to entice curiosity. But the footprints have been, I never tire of those. So we love going there in the wintertime.
Absolutely. I have another photo here. I hope it got it all. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah, on the right side, that's me, that little dark spot, and on the left side, that's basically the same spot. And he's between. You can see his knee. He's bent. His legs.
Yeah, right there. I can see him. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the screen, because that was inside the cottage, whereas he's about he's 11 feet hunched there, so he's probably closer to 12 feet tall. And when that photo was taken, it was taken by Dwayne's spouse, and she was inside the cottage when she took that. So she was standing back from the screen. It locked onto the screen. When I recreated, I just put the camera up to the screen so it would shoot through it, get a clear shot. Right? But tried to line up everything as I can. And at that time, he had a 20-inch footprint. 8 years later, 8 years, 13, he now has a 21-inch footprint. So his print's grown 1 inch in 8 years. Ness has grown 4 inches in 8 years.
Wow. Question from the chat room. Has there been any evidence of environmental DNA found? If not, do you have any speculation as to why not?
Environmental DNA? You mean it's DNA from them, or? Yeah,
from them.
I've pulled hair from prints. I've pulled quite a bit of hair from fresh footprints, and some of them are seconds old. Those footprints, most of them are minutes old, and I sent in a couple samples through a third party, through Sasquatch Canada dude there, and then they went to somebody else to do the analysis. And at this point in this subject, I don't trust any of these people. I trust none of them, because just of all the controversy, maybe they're telling the truth, I don't know, but it came back. I was told dog, I was told human, and I was told polar bear. The polar bear one, that was interesting. What was actually even more interesting was I remember Brian Sykes coming out with a study mentioning something about polar bear with hair samples. He'd been an ancient polar bear, something to that extent. So when I was told polar bear, I thought, well, that's interesting, but I know where the hairs came from. They were very fresh prints. I pulled or I had a lot of oil on my vehicle from handprints on my car and that. And I've never taken samples of that because I don't want to give that to science. I'm actually quite protective at this point. I don't care about proving their existence. I'm not about DNA. I have hundreds of encounter experiences, and I haven't shown everything. Hopefully one day I can, but until then, it's just this subject will unfold as it does, and I know at some point they will become. It will. This is a truth, right? So it's coming. We're there. We're on the precipice of this all being exposed.
Here's another photo. I think it's a footprint. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, there's 3 prints there. One at the very bottom, one just above the middle, and one at the very top, and they're in a tightrope fashion. So that's basically the walk of a larger Sasquatch. Looks like they're walking on a tightrope.
Wow. See, I've yet to find a footprint when I'm out in the woods. That would be fascinating, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit more difficult in the woods because the substrate, the ground's doesn't show it up as well. That's one of the children. One of the first things was back in October 2012. There was about, I don't know, there must have been a couple of hundred footprints in this swamp area. The lake level had dropped, and there was all these crustaceans, these freshwater snails. I believe that's what they were in there for. And there was numerous prints from different individuals. I guess they were having a feeding.
That's just incredible. Here we go. Here's another one.
The left side is my foot. The right side is Neff's. So that's back in 2013 when he was 7 years old. So you can see the difference. His foot pad's a lot rougher, and you can see on the outside edge of his where the hair is pushing against the snow, and there's a bit of a gap, some toe splay, the big toe. The big toe is very bulbous. That's a trait of their foot as well as some of the other things I mentioned there.
Right. I love these photos. This is awesome.
Just a different angle, my foot against his. I took my shoe just to show the difference between a Sasquatch and human print. He's still young. He's only 25 years old now. His foot's 4 inches bigger than that now, and I can just imagine how big he's gonna grow to.
Right. Got this guy here too. Oh wow.
It's a 17-inch print that showed up within 5 minutes of my arrival at the cottage, and I'd been given, as well as Dwayne, the two of us were given hand-woven gifts when this print showed up. So I believe this is an older brother of Neff's, and I was still unloading the stuff from my car, going back and forth from the cottage, bring my stuff in when I come back out, and this single print was outside.
And I thought of my friend. My friend had found a paw print on her hood of her car over the weekend. And when I saw this photo, I just thought of her. This one's for you, Marcy. Hello? Come on. Where'd it go? Uh-oh, we froze up.
Oh, no, I can see it. It's there.
Okay. I can't see it. Okay.
Okay, there's actually 2 prints there, 2 individuals. There's a younger one which is on the right side, and then the big hand print, and it's kind of looks like it's slid over to the right a little bit, but there you can see the oil from their skin on the vehicle. He's right up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And this last one, let's see if I can get into this one. If you can see it, I can't see it. I'm frozen on my end.
Oh, that's actually that was the cast that I showed you. You just got a quick glimpse of it there. That was just the one that I held up earlier. That's the same one. So that's cool. Neff's. Yeah, that's Neff's foot now.
Cool. Well, you know what? This hour has blown by, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk with me.
My pleasure.
And I'm totally frozen right now, so I'm going to have to bug out of here. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I really where can people contact you? Where can people see your stuff?
I have my YouTube channel, Sasquatch Ontario, and SasquatchOntario.com is a website. The YouTube channel, there's 11 videos on there right now. I had to, I was asked by Dwayne to not post new content because of all the harassment going on, right? So I basically made it a paid subscription channel at this point. That was my suggestion to Dwayne, to just for multiple reasons, to basically hopefully stop some of the trespassing going on, and also help us out with covering some of the costs that come with this. So.
Okay, great.
So yeah, SasquatchOntario.com and Sasquatch Ontario on YouTube.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, Charlotte, it was nice being on here. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You have a good one.
Here.
Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm frozen solid here, so I can't see me, and I'm going to have to bug out, and hopefully this video saves. It's going to be one of those days. But thank you all for coming, and tomorrow we will have Farah Deal on, who is a demonologist, and she worked for many years with her husband, and so we're going to be talking with her. So in the meantime, have a good one, everybody, and I really appreciate Mike coming on and all that, and share. Get this, let everybody know about the show. Okay? Bye.